All right, should be good. Yeah, this is the Dog Island. There's a lot to go over, but it's easier to just start and talk while the game is going. So I'm just gonna get going here in a bit. Time will start as soon as I press A on this screen here at the beginning. So in 3, 2, 1. So the Dog Island here, the Dog Island is just, it's an RPG. For all intents and purposes, it's an RPG. It's a bit different than a lot of RPGs. But we'll see as it comes up. This starting town is Pororo Town, and this is where our main character lives. I like to start, before I get into that, the game does have 40, I believe 48 different breeds of dogs you can choose from. I always pick the same one. And no, it's not just mash A, I menu down. I choose to lose time here. Just to pick a Labrador Retriever. And now we have a brother or a sister. And we're good. So, the basis of this game is we're going to be wandering around a lot, picking up scents. We need to sniff 100 different things in the game in order to eventually win and complete the story. So I'm going to be keeping track of that on my own. Most of the scents we sniff are routed in. The few that aren't, there's about a quarter of them that we need to find randomly. So if I go out of my way to like pick up a scent, that's entirely why. Or if I'm relying on, I have to rely a lot on RNG for random scents and one minigame in particular, which is fishing. Fishing, we'll get into that when we get there. This is just me turning on text speed all the way up. Also, unfortunately, I will be skipping all the cutscenes. I'm sorry. I do recommend playing the game on your own. It is actually a very good game, not a meme. This is the milkman, by the way. So, what just happened? Our brother is sick, and our mom sent us out to get milk. Dad went out to get milk at one point. He never came home. We don't know where he is. He left months or years ago, but we haven't seen him since. So we're gonna get milk. The milkman, however, lost the milk. So we need to sniff out, we need to, in theory, sniff it out. Luckily, sniffing is kind of slow. You sniff by pressing the A button, and it gives you a little meter to find stuff. As seen here. Off by like a little bit. That's just one of the extra scents we need. This is the milk basket. We're gonna bring it back. Also, just so you know, the music is all the music in this game is amazing. There is not a single bad song. The milkman paid us for the milk in woofs. The woofs are a currency we'll be using throughout the game, especially for fast travel. Every time we fast travel, we need to pay in woofs, so we'll be doing that eventually. This is the postman. He's just gonna explain how to save. If you want to save the game, you talk to the postman, and we're never going to do that. There's no real downside in a speedrun to not saving. In fact, there's no downside at all because it's going to be a single segment. Even dying doesn't do anything as far as a speedrun is concerned. Because if you die, all it does is it resets you to the start of the room and clears your inventory. And clearing inventory is actually going to be very important. Because we can only hold 30 items. and I said we need to pick up 100 cents. So we're going to be dying a couple times to clear our inventory of everything that we have, just so that we can pick up more stuff without having to do menus. This is a festival. Basically a little festival that Town has every once in a while. I think it's probably annual, but we need to go find some seashells. Our brother was gonna come out, but he's feeling sick, like sicker than usual. Oh, he snuck out anyway. Never mind. So we are justifiably mad that our very ill brother snuck out of the house to go to a festival. But we're gonna let him just chill. The story in this game, it's gonna take some turns, and I'll try and explain it as we go. There's also a lot of downtime, just saying. A lot of just running around, picking up stuff, fetch quests, if you will. So, this is not a seashell, but it is a scent. Colored glass. This game is in English, also. The Japanese version is self-published by the developer. The English version is published by Ubisoft. It's on Wii and PS2 also. The reason I play on Wii is mostly load times, but also movement is a lot smoother on Wii. Japanese also, just the text difference, as you would expect, and load times in Japanese are a little bit faster than English, which is interesting, but version differences, because the Japanese version did come out first. There's no... Oddly enough, I will say this, there is no glitches in this game. There is absolutely nothing we can skip. And we have tried. This game is actually too well made. So we kind of just have to play it quickly. Okay, so we skipped over a few things here. Our brother got really sick at the festival, and like he is actually dying. So we need to find a doctor, and the only doctor that can cure whatever disease it is that he has is on the Dog Island. So we got on a pirate ship. We're going to the Dog Island. I didn't walk far enough forward. And on this ship, day one, we need to clean up all the dirt on the deck. Done. Easy. Dirt is a scent, by the way. They teach us how to smell dirt. Day one. Day two, we're fishing. So first is the tutorial for fishing. Fishing is where all of the RNG, not all of it, but a big chunk of it comes from. Even in this tutorial, we can have 3 different fish show up, and one of them is about 10 seconds faster than the other 2. So, also it's RNG how long it takes for the fish to bite the hook. It just, sometimes it takes a while. This is a slow fish, unfortunately. On Wii, this is also a motion control minigame, and the motion controls, as you can guess, take some getting used to. It's not terrible. They're actually pretty good once you understand how they work. So this game doesn't actually use the accelerometer as far as I am aware. It relies entirely on the cursor on the screen. So the cursor going on and off screen is usually how they detect waggle, as opposed to using the accelerometer. Or the cursor's moving around on screen, depending on the situation. So now we need to catch 2 fish. We need a Pacific Saury and we need a sea bass. This should be a sea bass. perfect RNG here, it's about a 30% chance. It's not too bad to get just one of each. I think it's a little bit better. It's more like a 60-ish% chance, or 50. It's somewhere in there. It's pretty good. But if we were doing PB attempts, this would easily be a reset chance, or possibility of a reset if we didn't get perfect RNG here. Luckily we did. There are 2 more fishing segments in any percent. The second one will be incredibly painful potentially. Also, if we got extra fish here just by bad RNG, this dog, he has more dialogue. He talks for another like 3 seconds. So you get punished doubly by getting extra fish and then him having more stuff to say. Third day on the pirate ship, we are cleaning the deck one more time. Really nothing special about it. I will call out one little instance here. And that is this postman. He has dirt by him. If you're sniffing for the dirt, it's very easy to just talk to the postman and lose a bunch of time. So very often, if you know where scents are, it's better to just not sniff. Another reason that we hopefully just know where things are and get lucky. So that was 5 spots of dirt on the third day, and we're done. And now we're skipping a cutscene. The ship does get caught in a storm, and we wash up on shore. We're stranded. Oops. Luckily, we landed on the Dog Island. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe there's only actually one island out here in the middle of the ocean. Who knows how this world works? This is Amalia. She found us and she's been taking care of us while we recover. And now we're gonna basically just walk around this town here and kind of figure out like where we are, get our bearings. This is the main village that we'll be in. So we started in Obscurathon. On Dog Island, this is Pupsville. And this is Noble, or this is Dr. Potan. Getting all of the characters' names mixed up. Noble is the second dog we meet. This is Dr. Potan. He is the only doctor on the island, and he is the only doctor in the world that knows how to help our brother. I guess. So we need to convince him to come back and help. And while we're doing that, we're gonna stay here at Noble's house. He's gonna rent us a little apartment for free. Well, okay. It's not entirely free. It is haunted. So no one else wants to rent it anyway. So he says, hey, it's haunted, but you can have it. And we're like, okay, cool. That seems fine. This is basically the richest dog on the island. He probably owns like half the island or something. So over here, this is our house. This is where we'll be staying for the entire game. We won't use it much in speedruns, but this is where you would heal. If you sleep in the bed, you do restore all your health. And this is Patassi. You can think of Patassi as kind of like Navi in Ocarina of Time. He's a little fairy, little spirit guy. He's gonna help us out throughout our journey and kind of just tell us where things are and what we should be doing. But he was the one that was haunting this place, so we found him. He's now with us forever. And we can go tell Noble that, hey, it's not actually haunted. So. Mashing. As you can probably assume, this is an RPG. There's a lot of text mashing. Text speed is... We turned up text speed all the way at the very beginning. It was the first thing we did. So it does go fast. It's just... It's still mashing. There is a mash cap, effectively. You can't mash more quickly than... If you mash faster, the game actually does sort of just wait until the next A button press would be accepted. So there's no reason to mash like super fast. Also, I will point out, since you can't tell, I am playing this with a single Wii remote. I use the... You hold the B button and point at the screen to run. You use the A button to sniff, and you control the camera with the D-pad. So I have the Wii remote basically using both hands. The plus button is used to just skip cutscenes. And we will be using the minus button very soon. Because Dr. Potan told us, hey, you don't know how to sniff properly. You need to go find a sniff master to teach you. So, we're gonna wander over to the fields here and find a sniff master. This is Yilu. He is the first one who will teach us the art of sniffing. And he's gonna basically just do all the tutorials for us right now. At least the remaining stuff that's not movement. So this is a bear. As you can probably guess, getting attacked by a bear hurts. And we will be using that to our advantage later. So Yilu has a couple ring fragments that he lost in quotes. So we're gonna go grab those for him. Something I did there, while digging up an item, I can sniff and overlap the sniff animation with the digging animation so that it doesn't take time, effectively. And that means that when I'm sniffing, as long as I'm digging something up, if I'm sniffing, I can kind of pinpoint where stuff nearby is. It's a very, like, hard to do strat if you don't know exactly where everything spawns. This is the tutorial on a combat. Yes, combat. You can bark and howl at enemies to stun them. So we're gonna be doing that. And part of the combat is, like with this snake, we can steal items. So by bargaining at that snake, that snake had the second ring fragment. It stole it from Yilu, I guess. So we're just stealing it back. And we will be stealing more items from enemies later. It's used quite a bit. I started playing this game in English, and Labrador Retriever is the default option in English. And I've also had labs before, so that's kind of why I stick to this. In Japanese, the default option is what's it called? A Dachshund? I think it's a Dachshund. Is the proper name for the dog, and not wiener dog, but it's a Dachshund. So we went to Dr. Potan. He told us that he wants us to go get a yellow flower for him. And a yellow flower smells like two other things, which it's a mechanic that we never really use. No, it's not this one. So the yellow flower was just literally right there. It's not actually a sunflower. There are sunflowers in this game, and the sunflower and yellow flower are different scents, even though they share an icon. And that kind of comes up a lot. So Dr. Potan is telling us that his assistant Francis knows where the blue flower is, and we need a blue flower also. However, Francis is getting bullied by 3 other dogs. She is a nurse, she's afraid of blood, and the other dogs are throwing tomatoes at her because she's afraid of blood and she's a nurse and they think that's funny. So she wants us to go get a brave fruit for her. If she eats a brave fruit, she can be brave and stand up to the bullies. So we're gonna go find that real quick. It's just over in Green Meadows where we've been. I should probably call out the names of these areas more often. I've said Pupsville. The field over here that we keep going back to is called Green Meadows. And very soon we'll be going to another area called the Treely Woods. It's over here. Too far. I just want this scent because I haven't picked up any extra stuff yet. Normally at this point I would ideally have a few cents, but RNG has not been favorable with the spawns. Okay, nothing over here. Yeah, I don't like going out of my way to pick stuff up, but sometimes you just have to. Because we do need 25 extra cents. And there's not a lot of time to go and pick those up. That long stretch there is a pretty decent time. So we got the brave fruit for Francis, and now she is brave until the effect wears off later. She tells us where the blue flower is. So we're gonna go over to Treely Woods and grab the blue flower. Conveniently enough, Treely Woods is just literally to the right here. And we're gonna meet another dog that lives in the forest. He kind of just chooses to have a house out here instead of, like, I don't know, in the village. This is Goliath. He's I don't know what he is, honestly. He's kind of like a construction dog, but he has an axe that he lost. In fact, he lost his axe, and he knows that the gorilla has a new handle for him that he can use if we steal it. So we're gonna go fight a gorilla. I'm gonna grab this lavender. This is actually a pretty opportune moment to pick up some sense, because this gorilla is very hard to deal with, honestly, as you might expect from a gorilla. So we wait for him to fall asleep, and then we wake him up and steal his axe handle. And now we bring it over back to Goliath, and he can remove the log that is blocking the path. So, easy enough. The blue flower is down here, and you wouldn't be able to tell by the environment, but it is there, in fact. Most scents in this game have a pretty good marker for where they are. That just happens to be a spot where it's not like that. A little bit of bad RNG. We don't need to worry about scents for a couple hours, but it will start being an issue eventually. Normally by this point, I would like to have 5 or 6, and I currently have 3. But that's just how RNG kind of happens. So Dr. Potan says, hey, it's nighttime now anyway, you should go rest. At least I think that's what he says. It doesn't necessarily have to be nighttime at this point, because the day-night cycle is unrelated to the story. I've never done that. As you can tell, the door activation hitboxes are very large. Really, you can... anything that has an A prompt, you can activate it while facing away from it, which does come in handy in one spot. Unfortunately, that was not the spot. So we're resting. Next day. Except Potassi has a stomach ache, so... unfortunate. We need to take a detour to meet someone else. To meet a couple characters, actually. This is Alex. He lives under a book. Yes, he lives under a book. He's, I guess, like a nerd, maybe? Or homeless, one of the two. But he knows all there is to know about the world, and while he can't help Potassi, he knows someone that can. And her name is Obaba, and she's a witch that lives in the forest. So, we're gonna go back to Treely Woods. On day 2, there's a shortcut. The shortcut wasn't here before, but now we can cut directly to Treely Woods every single time we need to go here. Good. Lucky with the apple spawn. Not lucky with the pumpkin spawn. We'll check that on the way out. There are exactly two spots in this forest where a pumpkin can spawn. And based on testing, every single scent will spawn in one spot that it can in every area when you load the area. So it's a coin flip every single time we load Treely Woods if the pumpkin spawns in the spot we want it to. I've lost 2 coin flips now. Wish you could live under a book. Luckily, the weather is pretty good on Dog Island, so he doesn't have to worry about getting rained on. I feel like that would be pretty uncomfortable. So, Obaba needed us to grab something from our fireplace, which is ashes, that she can rub on her eyes in order to see Potassi. Because the ashes from our fireplace have Potassi's essence on them, I guess. And she just needs that to be able to see him. So she rubs the ashes in her eyes, and now she can see Potassi and heal him. And she does so by howling. Hey, he's healed. He feels all better now. And now we're gonna go back, and Francis will have another quest for us. I've lost four coin flips in a row. Very cool. If we never get the pumpkin here, it's not a huge deal. It's just unfortunate. Francis is a little worried. Dr. Potan sometimes just leaves the village and wanders off into somewhere. She doesn't know where he goes. She wants to find out. So we're gonna follow Dr. Potan as he's wandering off into the wilderness. Luckily, he just left. So we're just gonna trail behind him until we eventually get there. From Green Meadows through Treely Woods to a new area. Lucky? No? Yes. Okay. As I said earlier, the yellow flower and sunflower are different. There's the sunflower. As you can tell, it looks very different from a yellow flower. And this is Zumi Lake. And we're gonna go to the island in the middle where Dr. Potan is. One interesting thing about this island, you will see it. You can see it now probably. There's a gravestone here. Why is there a gravestone? Why is Dr. Potan at the gravestone? Well, many years ago, Dr. Potan killed one of his patients. And that's their grave. And he goes to visit it very often. So, he's kind of hung up that one of his patients died under his watch, and because of some bad medicine that he gave them. And it's just haunted him for his entire life. Anyway, Yilu wants to see us again. And we're gonna go grab the third ring fragment now. It's over in Zumi Lake. This is basically a tutorial to teach us one of these sniffing mechanics that is following a trail. We will never use it because following the trail is not very useful when we just know where it is to begin with. But instead of just following the meter on its own, some sense we can get a visible trail to follow if we so chose. It's very good for casual play, but in the sense of a speedrun, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose. Other than the scents that are tied to this are far more precise than other scents in the world. In fact, these ones are nearly pixel perfect. And as you can guess with motion controls, having a nearly pixel perfect scent to pick up is a bit stressful. Every time you dig, it's about 5 seconds. So if you're off, that time adds up pretty quickly. This is just a gap we can't cross. I wonder how we're gonna cross it. Well, this stump smells like food. I bet that hippo would like food. We're gonna go get food to bait the hippo across. And then we're gonna use his back to jump across to the other side. Okay. Interesting. I don't usually get the scent from that side. Okay, we're at 7 now. 7 is pretty good. This is where I kind of like to be around Zumi Lake anyway. Effectively, I've caught up to where I want to be. Right there is just a real simple trick of overlapping the water shake-off animation with the dialogue box. It's just mashing A. It's nothing special. But it does save like 2 seconds. Okay. Sort of unlucky. Yes, as you can tell, these are nearly... As you can tell, these are pixel perfect. Anyway, those scents are very hard to pick up, and most people will miss it a couple times. So that was the third ring fragment for Yilu. There's 4 in total, and we're gonna get the 4th one later. But first, well, I'll wait until we get back over there. The next part of the story is a little interesting, to say the least. I don't know if it's like Ukes in 2007 just predicted this was an issue. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But we're gonna give this little, we're gonna give the ring fragment to Yilu. And he says that there's something wrong in the village. He's not quite sure what it is. So we're gonna go check it out. Using the power of sniffing, what do we sense? Well, first of all, no one's outside. That's weird. There were a bunch of dogs outside before. Every single dog in the village is sick. A virus hit them all instantly. Every single dog got sick at once. Like, one dog was sick and then it just spread to everyone. And Dr. Potan is trying to help, but he's one doctor for an entire village. He can't do it alone. He needs to find a cure. Like, now. He thinks that there's something in the forest called Deflungi that should help. So we're gonna go grab it. And as we do, Obaba will come up to us and ask us why we're grabbing this, like, very dangerous fruit. And Dr. Potan told us that it's a cure. She says, no, it's not. It's actually very harmful, and you shouldn't give that to anyone. She's gonna go get something that will help the village while we go tell Dr. Potan. And just a couple more cutscenes. I see you've got the Deflungi. Yeah, but it's... we shouldn't use it. Anyway. Cutscene. Dr. Potan is sick. And now everything's better. So, Obaba saved the day while we were in that cutscene. And Dr. Potan wants us to grab a white flower. This is the last flower he needs to make medicine to cure our brother. And I don't know why we still trust him, because he has not shown so far that he should be trustworthy as a doctor. He did admit to killing one of his patients, and yeah. And then the whole, like, Deflungi incident just now, yeah, it just issues. Anyway. White flower. He's gonna take these 3 flowers we've given him and grind them up into a medicine that he can give to our brother. So we're gonna do that and get back on the boat, go back home. And happy music plays because we're about to go cure our brother and finish the game. Right? Right? I'm definitely gonna finish the game right now. Nothing could possibly go wrong. Anyway, hi Mom, we brought back the medicine. You did? That's crazy. And then we run up to our house. This is a chance to grab a couple cents if we didn't pick them up at the beginning, but they're in our path at the very beginning anyway. So Dr. Potan tells us the medicine didn't work. That's crazy. Anyway, we need to go find a flower, an ancient legendary flower that grows on the Dog Island, and no one has seen for centuries. So, anyway, that will surely be the cure. Go find it. That's basically what he's saying. So in order to find this legendary flower, we need to become a true sniff master, which means we need to find the current like best sniffer in the Dog Island and have him train us to become a real sniff master so that we can find this flower. And back on the Dog Island. So we're just catching up Amalia and Alex on our adventure so far. They are apparently our friends because we've talked to them once. But Alex knows the stories of the legendary flower. And hey, we should go talk to Obaba tomorrow to see if she can help. Oh yeah, this tree. So we planted a tree at the very beginning of the game. It grows through the power of friendship. So as we do more quests, that tree will get bigger. And that is another requirement. We do need to max out the tree's growth, as well as maxing out our, well, not maxing, but getting 100 cents. So Potassi here is saying, hey, do you remember how to get to Obaba's house? I know it's been a while, but are you sure? And yes, we were there like 6 minutes ago. So this is the last time that we can reasonably check for pumpkin. So if we don't get it, then unfortunate. Not a huge deal, but it's here. Luckily for us. And I didn't go far enough forward. There we go. I talked about mash caps earlier. This is the main instance of where it's obvious. I am mashing A this entire time. During this dialogue, there will be 4 questions. Every single question answer is the second option, and it will not automatically mash the first option. I can be mashing A and then menu down while the dialogue is up, and just never stop mashing A. It's a very convenient mashing mechanic that just works out in our favor. So we're gonna go back to Yilu, and he's gonna tell us about the 4th and final ring fragment and where to get it. And basically how to find his master. Because Yilu isn't a sniff master, he's an apprentice. Like, he introduced himself as an apprentice at the beginning. So we need to find his master to, like, get us going on this journey. So in order to be accepted as a apprentice, we need the apprentice ring, which is made up of these 4 fragments that Yilu has, or had. We have 3 now. Because he broke his apprentice ring, because he gave up the life of becoming a sniff master. His master, Master Road, who we will meet pretty soon, was very hard on him, and he just couldn't take it emotionally, and he gave up and broke his ring and ran away. So we're going to effectively fill his role as an apprentice. And yeah, for what it's worth, the themes in this game are very interesting, honestly. Like, you wouldn't expect it from the Dog Island, but the kinds of themes that this game has can hit home for a lot of people and can get a little dark in some places, I guess. This game is rated E. ESRB, I don't think read the story, because they would probably be at least like E10, but we won't tell them. I actually don't think E10 existed when this game came out, so maybe not. Yilu is gonna ask us, I already explained the story, but he's gonna ask us if we want to hear it. We're gonna say no. Very kind of him to ask, if we want to hear his life story and why he is who he is, but that's the last we'll see of him. If you accidentally mash yes, his dialogue takes 10 to 15 seconds. Like, it's not terrible, but it's a lot of text boxes. So road is going to be past Zumi Lake in the Zumi village, the second town on the island, basically. Am I lucky? I'm lucky. That is not the blue flower. That is a morning glory. They are indeed different, just like the yellow flower. And the white flower that we'll see later, maybe. So one more piece of hippo food. The hippos are probably my favorite, like, NPC in the game, or model, or character, whatever. They just look really funny. The hippo food is going to be over here. This could be really convenient. So we're going to dig for... Okay, controller. We're going to dig for the hippo food. We got lucky. That green apple can spawn directly under the hippo food. So if you sniff while digging up hippo food there, and the green apple spawns, you can just dig again and get the green apple. If it doesn't spawn, you don't waste any time by checking. That's one of the easiest overlaps to do, to like look for. So I'm gonna run over here, go to Zumi Village, and start the next leg of our journey to become a real sniff master. And we're at 10 cents right now. That's actually fine. It's a like 1 or 2 lower than how I normally am, but RNG. RNG isn't always in our favor. This is Master Road's temple, and this is Master Road. He says that, oh, we are now the new apprentice because we have the ring. So we need to go find a flower vase for him. This flower vase is one of the pixel perfect RNG scents to find. It's not terrible, but this is probably former world record holder Petriform in his notes called this one of the worst areas in the game. The Hoya Plains are, there's a lot going on, and we do come here a couple times, but this is a big part of a big pain point, I guess. Potential pain point. So I'm gonna wander around a little bit and pick up some scents because I want to waste a little bit of time for this boar to fall asleep. His aggro range is absurd, and we need to steal that giraffe's note from him. Is it over here? No, it's the... So there's 2 RNG scents that can spawn. In the vicinity of that flower. There's the little kiwi there, and then there's another one. The kiwi is pretty easy to grab. The other one is, I think, is spinach. It's also easy to grab, but it's hard to differentiate between the two. So the thing we got from the boar is a giraffe's note. Now, if we talk to giraffes, they will bring us up ledges. Very convenient and usable in exactly 2 maps. Hoya Plains just happens to be one. This is another scent that is just really lucky to find. It's not uncommon, I've found. And I just walk up and grab the flower vase. For the flower vase, I have a pretty good visual cue based on the little dent there in the path. because that scent is nearly pixel perfect. It's, if you don't go by the visual cue, it's pretty hard to dig up. But I find it's one of the easier of the pixel perfect scents. So Road tells us that, hey, now that you're my assistant or something, or apprentice, you can go help all the dogs on the island. And someone outside needs your help. This is Boris. Boris is the best NPC in the Dog Island, by far. He is... We will be talking to him dozens of times. But to start off, he needs us to deliver firewood. He's originally from Pupsville, but he went out to get firewood for Noble, and he can't find his way back. So we're gonna go do that for him, because Noble really needs this firewood. And he needs it like yesterday. But Boris is lost. He doesn't know how to get back to Pupsville. So we're gonna do this for him real quick. This entire segment, I'm gonna be running back and forth a couple times from Pupsville to Hoya Plains. And it does take about 5-ish minutes of just running back and forth. So there's not a whole lot going on here. And this is why Petriform, in his notes, he sort of textually, I guess, groaned when writing about this portion. Because it is just running back and forth. Boris did make it back to Pupsville eventually. And he's now sort of like, he's giving us the reward for our quest completion. And then kind of lamenting that, man, I can't like keep doing this. I can't keep getting lost as like the delivery guy. So maybe Alex here has a solution. It's like, hey, Alex, you know, Boris, he's like effectively UPS or FedEx, and he keeps getting lost. He doesn't know how to get around the island. So Alex is going to recommend a map stone. If we get a map stone from Hoya Plains, we can make a compass for Boris. And with that compass, he'll, in theory, never get lost again. So it is time to run back to Hoya Plains and then run back to Pupsville. This takes about 2-ish minutes, 2.5 minutes. So I'm going to use this opportunity to just like shout out the Discord. There is a Dog Island Discord. It's obviously very small. What you'd expect from a marathon like Obscurathon. We have a lot of really good resources for new people to get into the game. You also don't have to run JP. You can run English. It doesn't really matter unless you're going for literally world record. JP doesn't save that much time. It saves, I would estimate, like a minute, maybe a minute and a half if you're being generous. But at the end of the day, it's not like a ton of time. And as things are right now, you could still technically get world record on English. It would just be very hard. The record isn't optimized by any means. Like, there's easily another few minutes that could be saved just by, one, getting lucky, and two, having perfect lines. When I submit this game for marathons, my estimate is a 240. I could probably bring that down a little bit, but the idea is there's so much RNG that there's a lot of variance in the mid game. But my PB is a 227. World record is a 227.01. Which is, I have a 227.20. 227.01 is world record as of yesterday. So it kind of, there's not a whole lot of, what am I trying to say? There's a lot of variance here. Like I've gotten a 236 shortly after getting a 227. Like you can just get unlucky with fishing. And that matters a lot more than something like language. The current record actually loses about 2 minutes to fishing, so 225 is easily possible. I could see it going to 224 also if you have like perfect RNG. So while I was going over all that, just kind of ranting, we made it back to Pubsville. We're gonna give Boris the mapstone, and he's going to have a compass. Yay, Boris. And now for the sort of mid-game segment. Amalia is pretty mad at the Victory Gang because they're just kind of being mean to everyone. So we're gonna maybe try and solve that. She suggests that their leader left recently, and he kind of kept them in check. But without their leader, they're just kind of going wild. So we're gonna go talk to their old leader and see, like, effectively we're gonna try and become the leader of the Victory Gang. These chickens can get in your way, and they will do so. This is Bill over here. He is the former leader of the Victory Gang. He's got that little, maybe it's a tattoo, maybe it's just a scar, I don't know. But his emblem is in Treely Woods. He kind of just threw it away. We're gonna take some intentional damage here. Because what we want to do here is we want to Death Warp. And the reason we want to Death Warp, I mentioned earlier, when you die, your inventory is cleared. And this is a pretty opportune moment to do that, because the little medallion that Bill threw away happens to be right next to a gorilla. So we can grab it and hopefully just die. Easy. What that does is it puts us here, and it also clears our inventory. So while we picked up 13 RNG cents so far, that would have been 13 items sitting in our inventory, plus a few others that we just kind of randomly picked up. Those are no longer there. We have 0 items in our inventory, and we can now pick up 30 more. Without any worry at all of having to drop stuff. So now that we have Bill's medallion, we can go tell the Victory Gang, hey, we have Bill's medallion. Like, I am your leader now. And we're gonna see how well that goes over. Probably not very, if I had to guess. So, running back over here to the Victory Gang. Just because we have Bill's medal doesn't mean they will listen to us. Shocking. We need to prove our worth to every single member of the Victory Gang, and we're gonna start with Camu. Camu says he will not trust us unless we can find them in hide and seek. So we're gonna play hide and seek now. We need to find all 3 of Camu, Curtis, and Camu, Curtis, and Clark. I always forget Clark's name because he's not like that memorable to me. Clark is going to teach us a new mechanic pretty soon. And that mechanic is catching insects, which, not that big of a deal. This is Curtis, though. He is effectively the devil of any percent, because he's going to force us to fish for his quest. And as I've mentioned probably a few times, fishing is the biggest point of RNG. So having to fish for Curtis is a big pain. Fishing on the boat at the beginning was, I forget the exact odds, but it's about, I would say probably a 60% chance of going perfectly. Curtis, it's about a 13% chance of going perfectly. As you can tell, I just talked to Boris though, and he teleported us to Zumi Village. So we're gonna be talking to Boris a lot. Boris is effectively our just best friend. He is going to just teleport us across the map for the cost of 1 woof whenever we want. And we will be abusing that. Because running is incredibly slow. This is the princess. Catherine? Or Trina or something like that. It's a K name. The Victory Gang worships her, so she was lost. We had to go find her. Like, they wanted to make sure she's safe. No big deal. She is Noble's daughter, I believe. And Noble doesn't let her leave the house, so she has to disguise herself and sneak out. So that's all she was doing. Just kind of adventuring and getting out from the house. We're gonna steal her silver. That is also a very hard scent to get, by the way, because it's protected by Dougal. Dougal is the other dog that was there. You can't actually sniff for silver because by just even holding the A button near him, he will start talking to you. And talking to Dougal is, I forget the exact time loss, but it's between 30 seconds and a minute. It's probably close to 45. Because all he does is he tells you about how he wants to see every fish in the world, and we don't care. We have no reason to ever talk to Dougal in any percent, or even 100% we don't talk to Dougal. Because we don't need to give him the fish in 100%, we just need to have found them. So we're gonna go over here to Alex again. We're gonna help him one more time. He's afraid to leave his book, I guess. So with Amalia, we're gonna convince him to get out from under his book. And he agrees as long as we can solve his riddle, which we're going to do. Not that big of a deal. He wants a candle. So we're gonna go into the Victor Gang hideout here and take a candle. Swing to the right here. For such a short quest, this has 3 cutscenes. I think it's the most egregious of any quest in the game, as far as I know. It's a lot for how short that is otherwise. And now Alex has another riddle for us. As I said, completing quests makes the tree in town grow. So Alex's quests are just incredibly easy. Because they're just dialogue. And we're done. There's no reason not to do those quests. Well, I get... No, there's no category that you would skip those. Here it is. I walked too far. Francis is still getting bullied. Crazy. The brave fruit has worn off. She is now unable to stand up to the Victory Gang again. So she's gonna tell us a story of why she's afraid of blood. When she was a puppy, she killed someone. She played too rough, and she sort of just left them bleeding to die, and didn't know what to do, ran away. And she wants to find where her old friend is buried so she can go visit them. So we just kind of say like, yeah, we'll go find them, so she can like get closure, I guess. Yeah. Anyway. back to Boris, back to Zumi Village. We're gonna ignore Francis's backstory for a second. Just like we kind of ignored Dr. Potan. And here we have Clark. And Clark is going to teach us all there is to know about catching bugs. So he wants us to get a cabbage butterfly for him. So he's going to teach us how to catch bugs so that we can do that. Really fast tutorial. The little meter at the bottom is just moving back and forth to show you that you can catch the bug, but it's actually based on the dog facing the bug in the overworld, which you do it just by pointing. And now this is Curtis. This is where he can tell us to end the run if we are just doing PB attempts. He wants a black bass. And the black bass in Zumi Lake, average RNG is, I think it's actually like 15%. But the way that fishing works in this game, there are multiple drop tables. And the drop tables determine when you enter the room. And this lake has 3 different drop tables. The best table has an 18% chance of black bass, and the worst is a 13%. So we just kind of need to hope. On the bright side, extra fish we get do count as cents. So like that carp is an extra cent. It only really becomes time loss if you get duplicates. For all intents and purposes, at least. So that's not a black bass. Getting a fish that is not a dupe is about 5 seconds slower than getting another RNG cent elsewhere, which isn't a huge deal, but getting a dupe is anywhere from 15 to 25 seconds of time loss. I figured this out when I was grinding about a month back for record, which the record was broken yesterday. I just wanted to know like what the RNG was actually like. So we kind of broke the game open and I figured it out. That's a dupe. Unlucky. In my PB, I have first try black bass, which is absurd. There it is. So if the odds of getting perfect fishing for the entire game, not just individual instances, but the entire game, is about a 1% chance. I think it's actually less than a 1% chance, but round up to make it look better. There's the cabbage butterfly. Because of that fishing, we're actually at 17 cents out of 25 for extras, which is good. I'm not worried at all about cents now. So I'm gonna just kind of run. Also notice the little like lens flare. Just a nice little touch for having the sun there. We're gonna deliver the black bass and the cabbage butterfly to Curtis and Clark respectively. And then we're going to complete Francis's quest. The music is very calming, by the way. I have the soundtrack downloaded because it's actually really good. This is Elaine. This is the dog that Francis killed, by the way. She's not dead, as you can see. So we bring Francis over here. Hey, this is the friend that you thought you killed. And she's like, wait, that's not possible. You should be dead. Oh, you're not? I guess we're best friends again. And that's all this dialogue kind of is. There's a little back and forth between Francis not believing that it's actually Elaine and that she might be just a relative. But yep, you didn't actually kill anyone, Francis. You can no longer be afraid of blood. That's how that works. Congratulations. Quest complete. Now we get to go to the first like major environment difference. So this is, what is this? This is everything we've done up to this point is kind of like open fields. This is the desert. The desert is very hot. And if you stay in the desert too long, you will get heat stroke. So we need to move through here very quickly. Luckily, that's never an issue because we are obviously moving very quickly. So as you can see, there's a little meter on the right side where our dog is getting warmer. And if that meter fills up all the way, we will take damage over time. But going into a village like this one resets it. This is Giggly Village, by the way. This is our third town. Our third fast travel point, too. And over here, we're only coming up here for one thing. And it's a scent that we actually didn't know we needed yet. This is an ash tree branch. We're going to give it to Jeremy. We haven't actually met Jeremy yet, but he wants it. Kind of a little far over. Pretty convenient that it's there without having talked to him. There are a few items like that where you need them for quests and you can pick them up without ever talking to the dog. So we're going to take Boris back to Pupsville. And we're going to do some deliveries. The first thing here, we're going to go to the furniture store. This is Mary Teresa. She needs a furniture delivery. She needs furniture delivered to Noble because Noble ordered like a new bookcase or something. So we're going to strap this bookcase onto our back and go over to Noble's house. And we are apparently just Noble's little like servant or something. Well, we're everyone's servant. Here's your new furniture, Noble. We also picked up an item. We talked to Peter a while ago. We talked to Peter a long time ago. But he wanted a flower, and we picked it up in the desert for him. So he's gonna give that flower to Amalia to confess his love. He couldn't do it himself because he is a rich boy and he will not leave the house. So, this is Jeremy. Jeremy wanted this ash tree branch because he lost his stick. His stick is a magic stick that controls the weather, and he lost it. So he needs to make a new one. And this ash tree branch is the start of him being able to make a new one. He's gonna carve this branch into a magical staff. And then we're gonna talk to him later about it, but This is the start. Because without this branch, he can't control the weather. So we need to make sure that he can get that going. So we need to go tell Mary Teresa that we delivered the furniture to Noble to complete her quest. And we get to check the tree again. The tree should have grown after we complete this quest. If it hasn't, something has gone terribly wrong. And luckily, hey, it's a bit bigger. We have one more quest now before we go talk to Road again. We're kind of just helping everyone. Back to Bill. This is really nice because it sort of bookends this segment. We start with a quest for Bill and we end it with a quest for Bill. Bill is trying to get a crab. He really wants crab. So we're gonna go get a crab for him. He can't find any. He doesn't know what's wrong. Please. Here's a crab. If you haven't been able to tell by now, every time I dig, I have to shake the Wii remote. I explained this a little bit earlier, but the way that shaking is done in this game is by cursor position, not by the Wii remote itself, like the accelerometer. So the cursor has to be on screen, which means the sensor bar has to like be well detected. Hopefully the Wii remote will just work. Hopefully. It's usually not an issue. So now we're gonna go back to Zumi Village. We have completed all of the quests that we need to do up to this point. And Road is going to congratulate us on a good job well done. And he's going to do that by leveling us up. Now you may notice, wait, why are our new hearts not filled in? Who knows? It's a little convenient for us actually that they don't start full. Because we will be doing another death warp. Ideally at least. Not yet, but in the next segment. Okay, Boris. Let me go to the right place. So Road is sending us off to the desert to find a certificate of Sniff Master authenticity or something. So we're gonna use this in order to become an apprentice of the real Sniff Master, Master Tao, who is the one that taught Road originally. Road is done teaching us everything he has, everything he's able to teach, I guess. Even though it's not a whole lot. We're gonna go. So the Sphinx here says that there's a key we need. That key is held by a snake on this side of the desert. Bark. We bring it back to the Sphinx, and the Sphinx will spawn the legendary certificate that we will use to become the apprentice of Master Tao. And that certificate is buried where? On the other side of the desert. In fact, it's about 2 feet from that snake we just barked at. So if you are playing casually and you just do a small bark at that snake, there's a chance, if you're doing this slowly, that the snake will wake up and attack you while you're doing this. Like, he's waking up now, but he's pretty far away, so we don't get hurt. The snakes in the desert here will poison you. Poison doesn't go away, actually, unless you have medicine. The poison will just kill you. There's only a couple spots in the game that can poison you, and the desert happens to be one of them. Even screen transitions, the poison does persist. We have some theories that for now might be tasks only if it does work, but there's a possibility that a death from poison overlapping with a cutscene trigger could do something. But that is so absurdly difficult to find. Or to, like, do anything with. There's a chance that there's a bug there. But that would be a frame-perfect trick in this game, which no one's really looked into because, one, if it can be done, and if it does do something interesting, do we even want to do it? I guess it depends on if it would allow you to get places early and if it would have consequences. But it seems unlikely based on what we know about the game and how event-driven things are. So, Master Tao lives in the Gola Highlands. Unfortunately, the bridge is out, as we can see by talking to Henry. This is Henry, by the way. He has a little Santa hat. Something we don't explore in this game is clothing. Every single piece of clothing you see on an NPC dog, you can acquire yourself. But there's no real reason to in a speedrun, unfortunately. There is crazy amounts of character customization in this game. And that's just one example other than the 48 different breeds of dogs. Each breed of dog having different variations, mind you. I'm not counting the different colored labs as different breeds, because they're not presented that way in the game. So, Goliath here, we met him before. He should be able to fix the bridge. But he is out of nails. He needs a nail to be able to fix the bridge. Who would have nails? Well, let's go to the furniture shop. Literal fetch questing. Which I find the name of fetch quests ironic when we're a dog. But that's what we're doing. That is, I mean, that's most of the game. What we've been doing. So we talked to Mary Teresa here. She gives us a nail. A single nail, by the way. Not like a bag of nails, but like a single nail. So we're going to use this nail with it. Give it to Goliath, and he's going to fix the bridge. And coming up here is sort of like an unavoidable piece of damage. So there's a boar up on this ledge that if you can avoid it, it would be slow to do so. So we're going to be at 2.5 hearts, not 3, going into Gola Highlands, which is very important to note for the next area. See, I'm at 19 cents. That's pretty good. I am not worried at all. Yeah, this bit of damage here, as far as I'm concerned, unavoidable. If you could lure the boar away, it would be slower than just running by it. So we have one more elephant. We did move an elephant earlier. This is just another one. He likes bananas. I mean, who doesn't, right? Bananas are a pretty good fruit. And we're going to use him to jump across to the other side. Now that he's moved, he will never move again in his life. So, all the way up here. Since we're very far ahead on sense, I'm not actually going to go out of my way here to pick stuff up. There's a lot of places in Gola Highlands where stuff can be. But it's all like... because of the multi-tiered nature of this area, it's really hard to tell sometimes where a scent actually is. And you can go down these little ledges to pick up stuff by the giraffes, but the cutscene to effectively get back up from the giraffe is kind of slow, even though we skip it. So it's better to just not, if you can avoid it. The scents down there are guaranteed to spawn. So if you're starting out, I would highly recommend just doing them. But we know where stuff is. We know we are a top level runner. We know where to find things. We don't need those backups. So over here, this is Master Tao. He is our master for the rest of the game, which should be a little over an hour. He's got a lot of dialogue. We do have an RNG scent here, actually. I mentioned that RNG scents will always spawn in one of the locations that they can spawn. And in Gola Highlands, a green grape has 2 spawn locations. One under Tao's left windowsill, and the other under Tao's right windowsill. So, this green grape is guaranteed to be in one of those 2 locations. And we take advantage of that by sniffing it towards the left, and if it's not there, we go to the right. And then we talk to Boris and go back to Pupsville. So Tao has a quest for us. I didn't want to talk to you, Boris. I'm sorry. I was just mashing A. Tao has a quest to go meet one of his former students, and she will tell us how to get through the Chiro caves. We need a key to the Chiro caves in order to make progress, and she will give it to us if we can get her a flower. Well, I mean, she gave us a key, but she'll give us the ability to go even further in if we get her a flower. So we're gonna do that. This is where the complicated fast travel menus come up. Like, knowing where stuff is actually matters. I know that from Pupsville to Gola, I press up 4 times to get there on the menu. And there's a lot of situations like that coming up where just you need to know. If it's English, or if you can read Japanese, it's not as important. But it just kind of comes up because it is Japanese and I do not know Japanese. So I've more or less memorized the menuing itself. So over here, this butterfly, we use it because it always spawns. In theory, that was a really fast one though. In theory, it is faster to skip on average because it can take longer than getting lucky elsewhere. But I don't think any run has really decided to skip that butterfly yet. Just because it's such a small difference. It's so consistent and it saves you maybe a second if you get, maybe a second or 2 if you get lucky. That blue flower scent is really convenient. You don't even move when you walk into that room. You just immediately dig. It's actually a trap to sniff at all, because if you sniff, you're also walking. But you move out of position by sniffing very easily. So if you sniff too much and you end up walking forward, you'll not be in position to pick that up. So we bring the flower back over to Upsville. And then we'll go back to Shiro and be able to pass through in like the complete cave. Just a little bit of back and forth. So, flower delivered. We're gonna death warp again. This death warp is pretty convenient, just because the enemy in the cave here does 2 hearts of damage. The reason that this does 2 hearts of damage, the reason that the doing 2 hearts of damage here is important. Let's see, it should be down 1. I don't want to mess this one up. Yep. So we're gonna take damage once, try and get a second scent. If we don't get it, it doesn't really matter. It would just be nice if we do. So running through the caves, we are gonna see the worst enemy by far. We're gonna zoom by them for the first pass, but they're gonna become a pain in a second or two. These snakes, by the way, can poison you, like the ones in the desert. Getting poisoned here is very, very bad. These bats, by the way, we're gonna run by them, but in another 30 seconds, they're going to be our worst enemy. This here, this crocodile or alligator, I don't know which one he is. He has cough drops on him, and we're gonna steal those cough drops. And he's also sitting on top of a flower that we can dig up, so we're gonna use that to our advantage and try and dig it up while he's stunned very briefly. And now I'm sniffing because I want this other scent here. I got it. I framed through it by accident. Please kill me. Thank you. I try and not iframe through that second attack, but unlucky. And now these bats are the worst thing in the Dog Island. There's an emote on 7TV titled "The Worst Thing in the Dog Island," and it is the bats because of this. That grab attack loses a lot of time, as you can tell. And we've already taken 2.5 hearts of damage. Not far enough forward. There we go. All right. I'm leaving Shiro Caves at 23 out of 25 cents that I need to complete the game. Or optional cents. The other 75 are all routed in. We will pick them up by default. So that's pretty nice, not gonna lie. What am I doing? That is the first time I've ever made that mistake. We picked up these 4 statues because we need to put them here. This opens the door. I don't know why I talked to Henry. So, this is all done. Good and done. And we are now done. We are now leaving Shiro Caves. We will go back to Shiro Village later. Once. Also, like very similar to the desert, this is the snow area. And somewhat different than dying of heat stroke, we can die of cold. So if we get too cold, we will take damage over time. Luckily, that is never really an issue, because we know exactly what to do here. The first thing we did was we stole a golden watch from a polar bear. Just kind of ran up, stole his watch, and ran away. We'll turn that in for a quest in a little bit. We're gonna steal this polar bear's firewood also. Right from under him. Because we're gonna use this firewood to melt this wall. And we're about to play the first of 3 mini games. So these mini games are honestly, they're all like pretty good casually. This is by far the hardest one in the speedrun in my opinion on Wii. On PS2, this minigame is free. But on Wii, this is the hardest minigame by far. Because it's motion controlled. And it's motion controlled with very precise and specific timings. So you kind of get the idea once the UI is up here. I'm going to skip the tutorial. We need to swing down with the Wii remote at the precise timing to hit the red part of the meter. And if you've played games on the Wii, you might know that motion controls don't always work as you want them to. So I have a technique for this that works pretty well. Not really talking during it because it's awkward. If my camera was on, you could kind of see like what I'm doing. That was too early. But I have a very specific grip for this that makes it very easy. There we go. 30 seconds is not bad. The IL record for this, I think, is like a 26 or something. It's 30 is good enough for RTA, 80%. But those motion controls are by far the hardest thing for me to... They were the hardest thing for me to get used to. I'll just say that. That minigame in particular was the biggest pain point when I started running this game. So now we're gonna go do the longest fetch quest, I think. We have 2 other things first here. So in Gola Highlands, we picked up a corkboard. Mary Teresa really wants this corkboard, by the way. So we're gonna give it to her. And complete a quest. Easy enough. Ah, there we go. Now, Alex has 2 quests. He has 2 more riddles. And we're just gonna answer them real quick. Because why would we not? So this one is the bottom answer, and his final riddle is just the top answer. So it's basically 2, 3, 1 for all of his riddles and combined. Not really that difficult. Even if you're running on English, you probably have it memorized just so that you can do these menus quickly. Top answer. And now we're gonna do a delivery to Noble first before we talk to Jeremy. Just so we don't forget. We're gonna give Noble the watch. We stole this watch from a polar bear, and that's a quest. The quest entry for that, Noble is actually not involved. It's sort of a secret turn-in that you can do that was discovered by a user in the Discord named Remo back in September, I believe, 2021. So very convenient. We used to do a much harder quest, and I'll point it out when we get to that area. So earlier we gave a ash tree to Jeremy, and that was used to make a new staff. And now he needs to imbue his new staff with the mana of the world. And he needs to get it wet in 4 different places. The ocean, a river, a lake, and I think the 4th one is snow or something, or cold water, I don't know. So we're just gonna run around doing Jeremy's little quest. There's really no better way to do this in terms of like routing. Just run to the ocean, skip a cutscene, run to the river, skip a cutscene, run to the lake, etc., etc. He carved that stick really well into a very nice looking staff. You got a very brief glimpse of it there, and you'll see it a couple more times. The river location is kind of tricky. It's just over here in this little kind of dent. Casually, you would be sniffing here to like sniff out the mana, but why do that? The positions are consistent. If they weren't consistent, this would be a nightmare. Also, the 2.5 hearts we're at is very convenient because we will try and die again coming up. If we don't die, it's not a huge deal, but it is faster to die in the snow area. Very convenient. The lake spot is right here on the path that we already need to kind of cross. And this next spot is the most awkward fast travel menu in my opinion, because it's the only time you do this kind of input. And specifically, it's up 3. There's a stretch of the game where we do up 4 on Boris fast travels like 6 times in a row, but up 3 is unique to this exact fast travel. Just kind of like an interesting little fact, I guess. So there's a quest here that we don't do anymore because it's painful. That's Henry. We met him before. He lost his bag of art supplies. His bag of art supplies is a trail scent. And I've mentioned a couple times that trail scents are pixel perfect. Now, what happens when you take something that's pixel perfect and you combine it not only with motion controls, but you add in the fact that it's on ice. And if you sniff, you slide. So it's a pixel perfect scent that you are sliding across the ice to try and dig up. It's a major point of frustration for routes that would use it. Luckily, in any percent, we don't need to anymore. So, bless Remo. Thank you for discovering Noble's watch scent. Also, we stole cough drops from an alligator or crocodile earlier, which we're gonna turn in right now. This is Mid. He's a singer and guitarist, except he has a sore throat. So we're gonna give him the cough drops to make him feel better. And just very lucky that we're able to do that in one big trip like that. So we're gonna go back to Tao. We've done a lot of quests, and he is going to respect that and tell us, well, you've helped a lot of dogs. You should go find the Book of the Sniff Masters. It'll teach you everything you need to know about sniffing. At least, like, the first half of it. So this book is in the other half of the Chili Fields, where we've kind of been a couple times now. We haven't been to the east part of Chili Fields yet, though. Similar to the desert, it's just the opposite side of the village. So we're just gonna go over here. The main gimmick of this area is there's a big chunk in the middle that has a path on it. A lot of these blocks will fall if you touch them, and you'll just fall into the cold water. You're supposed to bark at the penguin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just myself counting. You're supposed to bark at the penguin and follow him across, so you scare the penguin, and he will run to the other side, following a safe path, and you're supposed to just follow it. But there are multiple paths he can take. Some of them are faster than others, obviously. And we just optimize that to only follow the fastest path. So what I want here is I want to dig up this cinnabar. I'm not going to get the death warp, but that's fine. I will simply jump in the water. It's a little bit slower, but the polar bears only do 2 damage, and I have 2.5 hearts, so the death warp would have been sort of inconvenient, and we don't need it for inventory's sake at this point anymore. So I got the book. I'm gonna go back to Tao. And we're gonna begin our journey to sort of become the leader of the gang. We've been pushing it off a little bit. We did one mini game, we did the fishing, we did the bugs, but there's still 2 more members of the gang that we need to impress. So we're gonna be working towards that next. So the tree is massive now. It's not as big as it will get. It will get bigger, but it's pretty tall because of all the quests we've done. So we're gonna sleep. This does heal us back to full, which, good or bad, I'd actually prefer if we didn't heal here, but we are forced to for story reasons. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back to Tao. He's gonna tell us basically where the 2 dogs are, where the 2 remaining Victory Gang members are, and how we need to where we need to go to defeat their mini games. Sort of unfortunate they don't spawn without this, but it's like a big quest line for Tao as well. So the first one is in Giggly Village, and the second one is in a place called Rune Village. Well, we've been to Giggly Village. We don't know where Rune Village is yet, though. So, easy enough. This is the best minigame. This minigame is very fun. And, like, a bunch of runners have done aisles for this. Yeah, words. This is Will, by the way. A bunch of runners have done aisles for this particular minigame. There are 5 different courses, and it's just racing. It's just move quickly, have good movement, follow the lines, and kind of just have fun with it. So the minigame itself here, we're going to be racing Will. Will is a good dog. He doesn't cheat. He's actually the most generous of the minigames. Instead, we're going to cheat. In place of him. See, he follows the road. Like a fool. The race itself, it's not like, there's no course. You're just kind of hitting these checkpoints. You don't have to stay in bounds of like the track or anything like that. And you can see in the minimap in the bottom right how we're just kind of leaving Will in the dust. Because we really cheated by cutting those corners. It's not just cutting corners, it's cutting corners massively. A 45 is good, honestly. It's not perfect, but it's good. And Will basically says, like, oh, you did my quest, or you beat me fair and square. Here is my thing. But you'll never get across the desert to Rune Village. It's impossible with the sandstorm. Which, he's not wrong. It is impossible while the sandstorm is up. But, luckily, as we leave the village into the sandstorm, we meet Sair. And Sair tells us, I have a magic stick that can get rid of the sandstorm. I just lost it. So, we're gonna go grab that for him. Can't believe you, Sair. You lost your magic stick that controls sandstorms. Very similar to Jeremy losing his magic stick that controls the weather, but I think this one is more specialized a little bit. He's like a step down from Jeremy, controlling one type of weather condition instead of just like all weather. Alright, well, for lore purposes, Jeremy's staff mostly controls things like rain. Sandstorm is still like a less useful thing to control. But now that we got his stick back, he removes the sandstorm and we can go to Rune Village. But before we do that, we actually need to go back to Pupsville. Because we need to pick up a quest. A quest from Peter. Picking up this quest from Peter spawns the item. You don't actually have to talk to Wilbur there. Wilbur's item will spawn without initiating the quest, which is very convenient. It will save us a little bit of time over having to talk to him and learn about it. Not much, but maybe like 10 seconds. But we do have to talk to Peter to spawn his item. So now we go back to Giggly Village and we go and look for those 2 items, and then we will also do the final minigame once we get to Rune Village. So what Peter wants is he wants another flower. And we're gonna grab that over here at the Oasis. Kind of weird that it doesn't spawn. It's just not there if you don't talk to Peter, but yeah, magic. So over here in the Dry Valley, these enemies are very similar to the bats in terms of aggression. They're vultures. Luckily, I framed it completely through his attack. That item is called Burning Water. I guess it's kind of like oil, but Wilbur wants it for his quest. We never spoke to him, but the item will always be there. Just a convenient little shortcut. As we said, there's a few items like that in the game. That just happens to be one of them. This is our first time interacting with the shop, by the way. Every item in the shop is a cent, so we do just buy it out here. The reason we wait until now is because this is when the shop is the most updated. Getting to Rune Village triggers the final item to spawn in the shop, I believe. So it's just the most convenient spot. Also, it's right there at the entrance. And this is McCoy. The final minigame is soccer. We are going to be doing a first to 3 1v1 soccer with McCoy. And he can be a bit of a bully. The soccer AI is very difficult sometimes. You kind of need to trick it. It doesn't always work, but you can trick the AI into doing what you want. This is not one of those times. Yeah, this is definitely not one of those times. McCoy is being a bit of a problem. That was one. Ideally, this minigame takes 30 seconds. But there we go. That's what you want to see. You want to see McCoy pushing you along. Glad I was able to get that at least for one of these goals. Yeah, and that's good enough. The first goal was problematic, but the other 2 were fine. The second one was actually ideal. You're effectively trying to trick the AI into behaving like that at every goal, but it's inconsistent, from my experience at least. So we're gonna go deliver those 2 quest items to Wilbur and Peter. While I'm doing this, I will call out, while all of the active runners or semi-active runners do play on console, only 2 of us play on Japanese. Most people play on English. And the leaderboard does allow for emulators now for Wii and PS2. The rules for it aren't like super like fleshed out, but as long as the emulator version has no distinct advantages in terms of like load times, etc., or you're just not competing for like a top time, it's fine. Emulator support is a little sketchy for this game. but it does work well enough to play. Dolphin and the PS2 version are PC SX2 or something. They're good enough. It's not a perfect emulation, but it's a very obscure game. Who would have ever thought that this game developed in 2007 by Ukes Interactive or something like that? I'm gonna call out Ukes. They're developer of this game. If you know the name, you don't know it from this game, obviously. You might know Ukes as the developers of the WWE and AEW licensed games, because that's what they do. That's what they've done for 30 years. And the Dog Island, as well as Pets 2, are the two games that they have made that are not like that. So they went from about 15 years of making wrestling games. They made the Dog Island and Pets 2, and then they went back to making wrestling games and have not done anything else. So after we finished those two quests, we picked up another quest from a fashion designer. They want a feather, which also doesn't spawn in the desert until you get the quest, so the reason I sniffed there is because there's a chance that a banana also spawns there. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal. I'm at 23 out of 25 cents. The banana would make it 24, but if I don't get it, it's fine, because there's 2 cents in the final area that I can get. It's a little inconvenient to get both of them, but it's not a big deal. So now that we've done that, we've done everything we really need to do here. And we did finish all of the Victory Gang's quests, which means we are now their leader. They respect us. We are now their leader. And we're gonna start getting into the end game. If you remember the beginning of the game, our brother is sick. He's dying. We came to this island to find medicine. Well, originally we came to find a doctor, but now we're here to find medicine. And what have we done? Not that. Let's just say. We have not really done a good job of finding the medicine. So we're about to, like, actually get on that. This is Tancredi. He lost his hat. No, not the one that he's wearing. He lost a different hat. He has a lot of hats, okay? There's a snake in the cave over here that has it, so we're gonna go steal it back. And this is where we're gonna get our last 2 cents also. So I'm gonna bait this snake. He's gonna, like, kind of... He's gonna very slowly, like, do that. There's a star fruit here. And then over on this side, I actually don't know exactly where the scent is. It's over here. It's very rare that I have to grab this, as you can probably assume. But that's all of the scents that we need. So here's your hat, Tancredi. We are now going to do what I like to call the like fast travel segment. It's just fast traveling. There's a lot of fast traveling. We're going to abuse the heck out of Boris. I'm sorry, Boris. We need you to do a lot. We're gonna go to Gola. We're gonna talk to Tao. He's gonna tell us to get the second Sniffmaster book. We're gonna go back to Rune Village. We're gonna get the book. We're gonna go back to Tao. He's gonna go tell us to look at the tree. We're gonna go to Pupsville. We're gonna look at the tree. We're gonna go back to Tao. You can kind of see where this is going. So while I'm doing this, I've done a lot of shouting out the community for this game, as well as just how you can also run it if you want to. You can play it casually too. I heavily encourage that. But like, if you've enjoyed any of this so far, like, I run RPGs. This is just one of them. I run a bunch of RPGs on my Twitch channel almost daily. So, I mean, feel free, stop by. My name is under the game the entire time. It's just that Twitch channel. Phantom5800. Shameless plug. Back to Tao. The book was in the bush. The book doesn't spawn until we talk to Tao. We've tried to find if there's a way to shorten this entire segment. Not really. There's nothing we can do here. All of this is very flag based. We need to check off each flag in order to move on to the next one. As you can see, our dog is a little annoyed that we have to keep doing this also, so... Back to Pupsville. And we're gonna have one last piece of sort of major RNG coming up. Now that we've done the tree check, we go back to Tao. This is where Tao was going to ask us, have you smelled 100 different things? Which we've been keeping track. We should have 100 things. If we don't, it's a problem, but it's pretty rare that in a run, unless you miscount, or you're just not keeping track at all. 100. Oh, you already have it. All right. Here is the key to Kunkka Ruins. The story is now ramping up. So Kunkka Ruins is a dungeon. I said that. Yes, it's a dungeon. In order to get into the dungeon, though, we need one little bit of RNG to go our way. We need to fish one last time. This is a 1 in 3 chance. It's a little bit better. It's 36%. It's not 33, it's a 36% chance. But it's still effectively a 1 in 3 to get the fish we need. Luckily with this fish, you can tell what it is before you even catch it. It's like, I will know if it's correct right away as soon as it bites. That's wrong. So ideally, if it's wrong, you can quickly fail it, or it'll succeed like that and it's still fast. A quick fail is faster than catching a medium-sized fish a lot of the time. That one was almost caught. It probably would have been faster to just catch it anyway. Getting first try here is obviously very important. That's the fish we want. Because it's a slow fish, the one that we want. Whereas the others are kind of fast. At least the small one is very fast. There's a medium-sized one that's very slow, and it's better to just fail it. So that is the ancient fish. You may recognize the sprite as like a coelacanth. If you play Animal Crossing, you probably know what a coelacanth is. It only shows up in the ocean when it's raining, and I believe only certain times a year. I don't remember. I haven't played Animal Crossing in a long time. But with the key that Tao gave us, we can open this door. I don't know where the key goes, but it opens. And with the coelacanth, or the ancient fish, we're gonna put it on a pedestal down here. And that's gonna open another door. And yes, you can tell this is very dungeon-like. Literally ruins, ancient ruins, built by the sniff masters of yore. It's like, you need to put the ancient fish on this pedestal for this door to open. Okay. If you didn't catch an ancient fish, you'd be leaving to obviously go back to the pond casually and try and find it. Or search like literally anywhere. So over here, we need to get two statues, a gold and a silver statue. We dig in front of this because it gives us a button smell, and we're going to use that button scent to find a button to press. Unfortunately, the button doesn't exist until you know what it smells like. Kind of like weird, I'm sure. There are two different kinds of buttons in this game, ones that do exist and ones that don't before knowing their smell. This just happens to be one of the ones that doesn't exist until you know what it smells like. So that door opened back there, and now we're gonna go in and grab the gold dog statue. And then on the opposite side of this dungeon, we're gonna get the silver statue. The silver statue is actually kind of well hidden. I think it's more well hidden than the gold one, to be honest. But it's just on the opposite side. You can kind of see the map is symmetrical. Interesting. Very generous hitbox from the snake. Generous for him. So we're gonna place the gold and the silver statues here. We could place the gold one now, but it doesn't really save any time, because we have to backtrack to the right for it anyway. If the gold statue went on the left, that would be much nicer for movement, but the silver statue is actually behind this wall. It's very well hidden. It's not even on the map. Like, this room isn't even on the map. It's just a black spot. But I guess if you assume that the maps are truly symmetrical, you can kind of make that assumption that there's something there. Okay, I got lucky. Silver statue and gold statue. And then here we have the Sniff Master medal. This is proof that we are a Sniff Master, by the way. I don't know who puts this here and why it... Like, how does Sniff Masters work if we're a Sniff Master for finding it? And does that mean anyone else is a Sniff Master, or did they just put it back? I don't know. Tao's gonna level us up, regardless. That is the last level up we're gonna do. We will not get those last 3 heart spots. I'm gonna stick to 7 out of 10. But with this medal, we can actually go find the legendary flower. this legendary flower that we've been looking for 2 hours now. Well, almost 2 hours. As soon as we got back from our return trip home, we've been looking for this flower. And it's just over here. Past this snake that doesn't know how to attack people. We use the metal here to raise the water level, and so we have something to swim across. And this takes us to the Ancient Grove. A field of flowers untouched by anything for generations. Potentially hundreds or thousands of years. And we're gonna run around here and dig up flowers. Specifically, we need to find legendary flower petals in order to really like understand what the flower smells like. Because we'd be looking around here forever if we didn't know what it smelled like. So with 3 petals, we should be able to like triangulate the flower itself, I guess. We don't have to go through the effort of actually finding it. The cutscene does that for us. And there it is, it's dead. The legendary flower, of course, it's wilted. So we need to bring it back to life. How do we do that though? Well, Potassi has been with us the entire time. He's like a fairy. What if we went to meet God? What if we went to God's house and asked them to bring the flower back to life? Well, that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're going to take this flower over to back to Green Meadows. This is the last time we're talking to Boris, by the way. So Boris has done a great job for us, and you know, salute 07. Thank you, Boris, for your work. Without you, this game would be like 2 hours longer. And over here, this tree that we've walked by dozens of times is actually magic. So we're going to go take this tree. Tassie is going to teleport us to the world, the land of fairies and gods. And yeah, we're ready to go. I'm gonna skip this cutscene real quick. The apocalypse is happening, by the way, just FYI. There's a whale flying through the sky, bringing a storm that's going to destroy the entire island. So we're gonna go to the land of God. We're gonna do God's trials. This is Ankh Road. There is a series of trials here that we need to complete in order to meet God. The first trial is this pathway. It's very narrow. Okay, I wasn't sure exactly which trial it was. I never am. Ooh, there we go. So if you step on any of the wrong tiles there, you just fall to your death. Over here, we need a flower. Nice little red flower. That is the last bat in the game, by the way. At least that matters. Putting it on this pedestal activates a teleporter. We're gonna take another teleporter to the next trial. This trial, we need to press each of these buttons in a specific order, Luckily, the order is consistent. And the order is actually just a big Z shape. Or Z if you're English, I guess. So a very large Z-shape pattern, and that activates the next teleporter. And this room, it's a locked room. We can't get out of this room. We need to find a button. And here it is. This opens the door. We can leave the locked room. I'm at 3 hearts, which is actually not ideal for this. If I had more health, if I had 1 more heart, I could death warp again and it would be very quick. But I won't be able to do that, unfortunately. So we open the door to God's room. We're gonna go talk to him. Well, talk to her, actually. This is the Ankh Queen. She is basically God, as you can see by her very ominous room. Unfortunately, the apocalypse has come here too. And we're suddenly back in Kunka Ruins. A new part of Kunka Ruins, though. God, the Ankh Queen, told us that we need to get a very special device in order to stop the sky whale from destroying the world. So we're gonna do that. We need to defeat the ancient beast, and that'll, you know, solve everyone's problems. So I'm gonna die here anyway, just because I want full health. Please kill me. This isn't fast. I just want full health for safety. Okay. Kill me. Thank you. Yeah, I just want full health for safety, for the sake of the marathon. Because dying to the boss fight would be incredibly slow, as you can probably guess. I'm trying to do this fast. This part, the edges of this pathway are magnets. They pull you off the edge. So if you cut these corners too tight, you will just fall off. As you probably saw there. You don't take damage, which is good, but it can be a little frustrating for people when they don't understand how those edges work. So we have 1 more button to press here. And this button is just right over here. And 1 more fishing segment. This fishing isn't RNG. There's no stress about this fishing. There's no possible way to get anything other than the fish you need. So the only RNG here is how long it takes for the fish to bite, but it will always be an ancient fish. Like there's nothing else that spawns here. So it's pretty carefree, honestly, in terms of getting what you need. There's a snake behind this door. controls you. If you don't cut that corner very sharply, you will just take damage for no reason. There's not much you can do about him, but just know that he exists. And now we're gonna do the boss fight. Who would have guessed? There's a boss fight. And this is what the boss looks like. Also, oh, really? Okay. Get on the button, please. Okay, I will actually... It should be the blue one. Should be the red one, then. Or the yellow one. Okay, these meters are throwing me off. Get on the button. It's the blue one. Okay. And phase 2 of the fight is literally just digging the middle of the room. And the boss fight's done. We are rewarded with a 2-minute auto-scroller segment at the end of the game. This is not RNG. Effectively, you're trying to take paths here that avoid bats. But this place is a predetermined path. It's a big branching tree of paths that you can take, and some of them are faster than others. So I have the optimal paths just written down. Also, I know that the stream is a little bit delayed, but I can see the why does God have a skeleton dinosaur? This dinosaur has been protecting an ancient artifact for a very long time. So it's not actually God's dinosaur. We just needed to defeat it to get the artifact that we can use to defeat the sky whale and save the world. It's pretty straightforward, honestly. Like, pretty easy. Left. So this segment was actually not discovered by a runner. It was discovered by one of my viewers that realized when watching my runs that the paths were always the same if I took the same path. So because they noticed that, that's why we are able to map this out. I sat down and mapped out the entire minecart section for like 6 hours. Not 6 hours, more like 3 or 4 hours. But it was a lot of trial and error because I had to fight the boss every single time. Which means I got reasonably okay at the boss fight, but that was a while ago that I did that. And now we're just mashing text, really. This is the end of the game. For how bad the fish RNG was, this is actually a really good time, and I'm very happy with this. We should have a very high 229, maybe a 230 if my epilogue movement is bad. But I will call out here, the Japanese version does save 28 seconds at the end of the game over English because of a cutscene skip we can do. There's nothing special about the cutscene skip, you just press plus. Whereas on English, this cutscene is unskippable. So I'm basically just gonna run to the last cutscene trigger and get ready to end time. So on English, you would hit here, you'd say yes, you would watch a 27 or 8 second cutscene. On Japanese, we skip it. Time ends on the first frame of credits, and time. 2:29:57 is a very good time. Like a very, very good time. So that was the Dog Island any percent. I'm Phantom5800 on Twitch. I speedrun RPGs all the time. So yeah, if you want to hang out, watch me run RPGs like the Dog Island or anything else, it's cool. If you don't, have a good day. And thank you for having me for Obscurathon. Yeah. I am ready to pass off to whoever the next runner is.